I think my new neighbors are trying to eat me, and I'm terrified. In light of recent events, my wife and I realized two things. We needed professional help. We didn't have any real evidence. Nevertheless, we spent that afternoon waiting in the lobby of the police station for nearly an hour before anyone was able to help us. I didn't even know how the whole thing was going to work, to be honest. I'd never been involved in a situation where I had to beg the police for help before. When the cop standing at the front counter finally called us up, he said that we'd be able to speak with a trainee officer in the back. Is there any way we could talk to someone a bit more experienced? My wife asked. Yeah, maybe like a detective, I added. The cop sure didn't seem to like those questions. He simply gestured to the door that led to the back room and said, "You want to talk to somebody or not?" We both nodded and headed towards the door. As the cop let us through, I quickly glanced down at his name badge, Officer DeVal. I blinked once, twice, 3 times. My eyes were dry from lack of sleep, and I was sure I'd misread it. But by the time I tried to take a second look, I was too far away to re-examine the letters, even while squinting. You're paranoid, I told myself. No need to tell Calm. And I didn't. The trainee, predictably, was zero help. I mean, he took down copious notes while we told him the story and all the details, but after all was said and done, he basically said there was nothing he could do for us. Why not? We asked. Listen, he said, I've got nieces and nephews, couple fresh babies in the family. Sometimes I'd blow kisses on their pudgy little stomachs and say, I'm gonna eat you up. Now, does that sound like a threat to you? Calm and I were pretty miffed by that. I'm sorry, you're honestly comparing those two things. Calm's voice was getting louder. I'm simply saying, there's not much we can do about words. Threats must be specific and targeted, said the trainee. I sighed and told Calm we should leave. This was hopeless. As we walked out of there, the trainee said one last thing with a smile. To be honest, I think they're just joking around. Seriously. But jokes are supposed to be funny, I said. Different things are funny to different people, he shrugged with a smile. I didn't like what he was implying. In the car on the way home, a sentence came out of my mouth, seemingly without my permission. Maybe we should buy a gun. Calm looked at me like she was shocked that I would ever suggest such a thing. I mean, I was too. Sure, I'd written a handful of thriller crime novels and done a ton of research into guns for various books, but I had always staunchly been against the idea of owning one. Until now. It seems like an extreme step to take, said Calm. Besides, what if that trainee was right? And this whole thing really is a joke, and they're just playing the long game with us. The long game? Sure. Like an elaborate prank. I considered this option. That seems needlessly cruel and a straight-up insane thing to do to a couple you've just met. You're right, said Calm. But what's the alternative? It was a very good question. That night, I found myself constantly walking over to our front window. Every so often, I'd stand there and eye the house across the street from afar. Nothing much seemed out of the ordinary, except for the fact that Liz and Dennis kept their curtains closed all day. But then again, I guess there were a lot of people in the neighborhood who preferred their privacy. I began taking notes in my phone, documenting their activity. Just in case. Their living room lights stayed on until 9 p.m. exactly. Then the house went dark, save for an orange, glowing hue coming from the upstairs bedroom. I could imagine Dennis and Liz in bed, both with a book in hand reading, as if they were perfectly normal people who didn't tell their neighbors that they would soon be eating them. Once we got into bed, my wife held out her hand. There was a very small pill inside of it. It was white and looked like a dry, chalky mint. "Here," she said. "What is that?" I asked. "It's what I take before plane trips. It's nothing strong, it'll just calm you down." "But I don't want to calm down." "Ryan," she sighed. I grabbed the pill from her hand, stared at it for a while, finally popped it into my mouth and swallowed it dry. Then I waited impatiently for the panic to dissipate. I was awake until I wasn't, but it only felt like a matter of seconds before my phone buzzed loudly on the nightstand next to me, which instantly woke me up. I'd forgotten to turn on night mode. I grabbed my cell and turned it over to see what was happening. Someone was calling me from a private number. My first thought was that it was potentially someone from the police station. Maybe they found some useful information. I convinced myself, "You should pick up the phone." So I did. "Hello," I said softly, trying not to wake up calm. But there was no one on the other end. "Hello, is anyone there then?" I heard something. At first it sounded wet, like a tongue clicking or drool spattering. Then that wetness grew into a chomping. That's when I realized what I was hearing. It was the sound of someone eating, as if they'd placed the phone directly up to their mouth while attempting to masticate as loudly as possible. "Who is this?" I demanded to know. The sounds continued, seemingly getting louder and more intense. It felt like I was dreaming. For a minute, I wondered if I was. Wait, what was in that pill? Was it a sleep aid? Something else? I should have asked. Why didn't I ask? "Please," I begged. "Why are you doing this to us?" Finally, the chewing stopped. Silence. Just heavy breathing. Then a man whispered something into the speaker, food still clearly in his mouth. "Because I need to know how you taste." Suddenly, a level of fear swept over me that I didn't even know was possible. I dropped the phone. I'm not sure even I hung up. I just started shaking and shivering, as if I was suddenly in a blizzard. "Please wake up," I told myself. "You're dreaming. This is all a dream." That's when I heard my wife say, "Ryan." She flipped her bedside lamp on, and the dim light was somehow blinding. "What happened?" she asked. I still didn't know. Was it real or just a dream? But I knew how to find out. I grabbed my phone, went to the call log, and there it was, a single call from 1 minute ago, which lasted exactly 36 seconds. "What is it?" she asked again. I'm so scared, calm is all I could say.